It all began as a typical Thursday at my high school, with everyone buzzing about the weekend and the upcoming backwards dance. This annual event had a twist where the girls asked the boys to the dance instead of the other way around. It often led to extravagant proposals, with girls going to great lengths to ask their boyfriends to be their dance partners. I'd never considered going to the dance myself. In fact, I'd never been to a dance with a boy before. My best friend Reagan was well aware of my long-standing crush on Cameron, the star player of the basketball team. Despite being friends for a while, I couldn't muster the confidence to be my genuine self around Cameron. My crush on him dated back to the 3rd grade, and my interactions with him typically involved stammering, stumbling over my words, and generally making a fool of myself. However, Reagan seemed undeterred by how nervous I got around Cameron. On that particular Thursday morning, as soon as Reagan spotted Cameron walking into the boys' bathroom adjacent to her locker, she seized me by both shoulders and forcefully ushered me into the bathroom, slamming the door shut behind me. It was essential to note that I had never set foot in a boys' bathroom before. Oddly enough, it resembled the girls' bathroom in many ways, with the notable difference being the urinals, which, I presumed, smelled a bit more unpleasant. Ew. Initially, I was utterly bewildered by her actions. What kind of prank was she pulling? And why had she cornered me into this awkward situation? I certainly didn't want to be caught in the boys' bathroom and potentially get into trouble. My futile attempts to push the door open were met with Reagan blocking my way. From outside the door, I heard her saying, "You'll thank me for this later." At that moment, I had my doubts about whether I would indeed be grateful, and the fear of what Cameron might be doing on the other side left me hesitant to turn around. After all, I hadn't even shared a kiss with Cameron yet. I definitely didn't want to witness him using the bathroom. That would have been too awkward. What if someone else was in here? The thought alone made my face turn bright red. Just as my anxiety began to rise, I heard Cameron's voice, calling out my name in surprise. In a hurry, I spun around to find him heading for the sink. Letting go of the door handle, I flashed the weirdest, albeit hopefully sweetest, smile I could manage. Hi Cameron, I stammered, wiping my sweaty palms on my jeans. What are you doing here? He pointed to the sink and turned on the water. I had to take a leak. The question is, what are you doing here? He asked, eyeing me through the mirror above the sink. My heart raced as I attempted to form coherent sentences in his presence. Man, he was good looking. I pressed on the door again, hoping Reagan had left, but it remained firmly shut, accompanied by a quick note from the other side. Great, she's got me trapped in the bathroom with a hot boy. I stepped away from the door and approached Cameron. Reagan locked me in here, I explained, glancing at the door and then back at him, my hands trembling. Desperate for something to occupy my fidgety hands, I dug into my pockets and took a step closer to Cameron. I was hoping maybe you'd go to the dance with me, I blurted out, though it probably didn't sound as cool in real life as it did in my head. Cameron turned off the faucet and gazed at me. I couldn't meet his eyes at this point, fearing the worst if he said no. Suddenly, a wide grin spread across his face. You didn't have to resort to spying on me in the boys' bathroom to ask me, he teased, his words filling me with relief. I'd love to go to the dance with you. My eyes lit up, and while I wanted to scream with excitement, I managed to maintain my composure. Awesome. I can't wait. My dress is blue, so see you on Saturday, I replied as he headed for the bathroom door. As he attempted to push it open, he discovered that Reagan was still blocking the way. I couldn't help but roll my eyes and mutter, "Stop being a pain and ask him Zoe." She called out from the other side of the door. "It's Cameron." I said yes. With that, the door swung open, and Reagan rushed in to hug me. "When you two get married, promise me you won't have your ceremony in the bathroom," she exclaimed, making my face turn an even deeper shade of red. The first bell rang just then, prompting Reagan to push me back towards Cameron, and we awkwardly hugged once more. My cheeks still felt as if they were on fire, and Reagan, ever the supportive friend, wrapped her arms around my shoulders and gave me a warm hug as we bid Cameron farewell. Overwhelmed with excitement, I couldn't help but squeal and nearly jump for joy. "I swear, as much as I hate you right now, I love you even more," I told Reagan, who just laughed, her eyes twinkling with an "I told you so" look. The rest of the day passed without any major hitches. During first period, Reagan and I amused ourselves by brainstorming ideas for where to grab a bite before the dance and who to hang out with afterward. I was hoping that since Cameron was part of the basketball team, he might know of some awesome parties to attend post-dance. Reagan had been dating Nathan, her boyfriend of over a year, who was going to pick us up in his car. Our plan was to meet Cameron at the restaurant. However, everything took a turn around noon. As lunchtime approached, the hallways filled with hushed whispers about how super dorky Zoe had asked Cameron out. And he'd only said yes because he was embarrassed about the bathroom incident. Of course, I was Zoe, and the rumors were far from the truth, but trying to convince a bunch of teenagers otherwise was an uphill battle. As I made my way to lunch, everyone's stares and the relentless whispering started to get under my skin. I did my best to keep my head held high, but the constant chatter was beginning to wear on me. The moment I spotted Cameron in the lunchroom, I headed straight for him with a determined stride. "What's all this talk about you getting asked out by some dorky Zoe in the bathroom?" I asked, my arms crossed. I hoped I looked intimidating, but being just 5 feet tall, I probably didn't. Cameron, on the other hand, stood at 6 feet 1 inch and towered over me. Without even bothering to glance at me, he replied, "What are you talking about? I don't even know you." Frustration welled up in me, and just as I was about to scoff and turn away, Reagan arrived, brandishing her phone with a picture of Cameron and me hugging after our bathroom encounter. She gleefully showed it to his friends. Eliciting a chorus of oohs and ahs, Cameron was now cornered, his mouth hanging open as his friends eagerly awaited his response. Before Reagan could say anything more, I placed my hand on her arm, signaling her to hold off. I mustered a confident look and quipped, "Honestly, I don't think you're man enough for me." Then, turning to Cameron's friends, I added, "Just so you know, big shoes don't always mean big." With that, I let Reagan lead me away, knowing that a teacher might come and reprimand me. As we walked away, we could still hear Cameron's friends poking fun at him, and the entire lunchroom seemed to be staring at us. Embarrassed and overwhelmed, I covered my face with my hands and hurried to the bathroom, this time opting for the girls' restroom. Reagan followed me and pulled me into a stall. I was genuinely upset, struggling to comprehend why Cameron had been so mean when he had been so kind back in the bathroom. Before long, we heard the door open and the shuffling of feet. 2 blue Air Jordans appeared under the stall door, and then there was a hesitant knock. "Zoe?" "It was Cameron. Get out," I replied, sniffling. "I'm sorry for calling you stupid and making fun of you for asking me to the dance. The truth is, I don't know how to dance." And the bombshell had just been dropped. Cameron had a crush on Reagan, my best friend. My jaw dropped, and my stomach churned with disbelief. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Reagan acted swiftly, grabbing Cameron's hand and pulling him into the booth. What followed was etched into my memory forever, an unforgettable moment that would stay with me for life. I half expected Reagan to kiss Cameron, but instead, she took hold of the back of his head and shoved his face into the toilet. "Quick, Zoe! Flush!" she screamed. Without fully comprehending why, I reached for the toilet handle and flushed it. We gave Cameron what was undoubtedly the best swirly I had ever witnessed. Granted, it was the only one I had ever seen, but it still ranked as the best. Reagan promptly pulled Cameron's head up, his face dripping wet and his nose running. She confronted him, asking, "Why did you say yes to my best friend if you didn't actually want to go to the dance with her?" Cameron looked at Reagan, his expression a mix of discomfort and bewilderment. "I wanted to get close to you," he admitted. Reagan pushed his head back down into the toilet, and I flushed it once more. After a few more swirlies, and with the fear of someone entering the bathroom, I told Reagan to stop. Cameron was soaked, and the toilet wasn't the cleanest, to say the least. As he finally managed to get up, Reagan gave him one final warning. "And you better never tell anyone who did this to you. Oh, and one more thing. You better let everyone know that you lied about Zoe and that she's way too cool for you to date." Cameron hesitated, questioning, what if I don't? Reagan's threat loomed as she lunged at him, causing him to jump and flee the stall. As he left the bathroom, I couldn't help but stare at Reagan. I had never seen her like this before, and my admiration for her soared. She had been fiercely protective of me. The next day at school, Friday, the talk of the town was Cameron's absence. He claimed to be sick, but most believed he was too embarrassed to return after what had happened the previous day. People kept approaching me, asking if I had indeed caught Cameron with his pants down in the bathroom. I simply wrinkled my nose and replied, "Unfortunately." Remarkably, Cameron never bothered me again after that incident. In fact, we had a blast at the dance on Saturday, where Reagan and I went together. She left her boyfriend at home, and we spent the entire day preparing, doing our hair and makeup. It turned out to be one of the best days of my life, all thanks to the chain of events that began with Reagan pushing me into the boys' bathroom and locking me in there.